Okay, now let's discuss about the star formation and evolution of the star. That means in this lecture we will discuss about how a star is formed and what are the stages a star will pass through before its death. Actually, stars are formed from the large clouds of interstellar gas, and at some point these large clouds of interstellar gas become gravitationally unstable and undergo fragmentation, and some of these fragments gradually contract to form at first the prestellar bodies. The contraction, first at a rapid pace but later as the internal pressure gradually builds up, the contraction is slows down. That means after fragmentation, some of the fragments will gradually contract due to their force of gravity and form the prestellar bodies. And this contraction is initially at a very rapid pace, but as you know that as contraction continues there will be an increase in the internal pressure. This internal increase in the internal pressure will reduce the pace of contraction, or the contraction process will be slowed down. The internal pressure building is rather quickly achieved for two factors. Firstly, as the contraction proceeds, you know that the molecules or the gas and dust particles will come in closer, so that the density of the matter increases. So this increase in matter will try to oppose the further contraction. So as density increases due to contraction, it will try to reduce the pace of pressure building up. The second reason for the pressure build up slows down is that this contraction releases gravitational energy. About one half of this gravitational energy is utilized to increase the internal temperature. According to Charles Law, you know that as temperature increases, pressure will also increase, which causes a rather rapid increase. So as the temperature increases due to the release of the gravitational energy, which causes a rather rapid increase in the gas pressure, so this simultaneous increase of density and temperature causes a rather rapid increase in the gas pressure, which checks to a great extent the initial rapid contraction. So we can say that the simultaneous increase of density and temperature causes the rapid increase in the gas pressure inside these prestellar bodies, which opposes a greater extent the initial rapid contraction, so that the pace of contraction will be reduced. As the gas pressure goes up, the stellar matter become opaque to radiation. Initially they are transparent, but as the gas pressure is increased, then these materials become opaque to the radiation. As you know that hydrogen and helium are the most abundant elements, a large fraction of radiation is consumed in their ionization. That means the gravitational collapse will or gravitational contraction will release the gravitational energy, and these radiations and also the radiation produced due to the increased internal pressure, these radiations cannot escape to outside since this material become opaque to the radiation. So these radiations will be consumed by the hydrogen and helium present in the prestellar bodies for their ionization, so that they become H plus and He plus ions. Since an overwhelming large number of atoms are hydrogen, the internal temperature is restricted below 10 raised to 4 kelvins until hydrogen become mostly ionized. That means the temperature required for the ionization of hydrogen is 10 raised to 4. So once all the hydrogen are ionized at a temperature of 10 raised to 4 inside these prestellar bodies, and after all the hydrogen and helium ionization has become complete, the interior temperature further rises and the stars proceeds towards achieving the hydrostatic equilibrium. So after the ionization of this hydrogen and helium are complete, the stars will proceed towards achieving an hydrostatic equilibrium. This high temperature causes the nuclear fusion to occur inside the core, and when this nuclear energy is sufficient to balance the stellar radiation, the stars become a main sequence star. So that is the different steps involved in the formation of a star. Once a star is in the main sequence enters into the main sequence stage, it will be treated as a star from onwards. So the formation of star is complete when it enters into the main sequence star categories after this fragmentation of the gas and dust particles in the interstellar space. So that's all about the star formation. Now we have to discuss about the life cycle of a star. What are the different stages a star will pass through after it is entered into the main sequence star? As you know that the stars are formed in clouds of gas and dust, and these are called nebulae. So nebula is the clouds of gas and dust particles from which the stars are formed. And you know that the nuclear reactions at the center core of stars provides enough energy to make them shine brightly for many years. The exact lifetime of the stars actually depends very much on its size. If you consider very large massive stars, they burn their fuel much faster than the smaller stars and may only last a few 100,000 years. Few 100,000 years. Now if you consider the smaller stars, they however will last for several billion years because they burn their fuel much more slowly. So if you consider a massive star and a smaller star, the massive stars burns their fuel at a very fast rate, and they will have a short life period when compared to the smaller stars which burns their fuel much slowly. So during the burning of the fuel, the star will shine and it will provide energy into the space, and that star is considered to be in the category of a main sequence star. Once all the fuels are burnt, the stars will still release energy by contraction as the gravitational energy. So once all the fuel, that is usually the hydrogen and helium are the fuel inside a star, all the hydrogen and helium are burnt, then still the stars will release gravitational energy by contraction. This collapse increases the temperature slowly, but since the radius also decreases, no overall increase in its luminosity takes place. That means the temperature increases, but their size decreases, so there is no overall increase in the total energy emitted by that star. If you consider the density, it also increases, and the stars have density in the range of 10 raised to 5 to 10 raised to 6 grams per centimeter cube are in the final phase of a stellar life. So if a star is having a density in the range of 10 raised to 5 to 10 raised to 6 grams per centimeter cube, they are in their final phase of stellar life, having exhausted all their nuclear source of energy as well as their capacity to release gravitational energy by contraction. So once after all the fuels are burnt, the stars will continue to contract by releasing the gravitational energy, so that their density increases, and when it reaches around 10 raised to 5 to 10 raised to 6 grams per centimeter cube, they will be in the final phase of their stellar life. They are exhausted all its source of energy to release, that is in the form of a nuclear fusion and also in the form of a gravitational contraction. There are therefore the stars which are just radiating their thermal energy, so they are cooling to meet their final death. So once they are completely burned their fuel for nuclear fusion, they will continue to release energy by gravitational contraction, and when it reaches density around 10 raised to 5 to 10 raised to 6 grams per centimeter cube, they stops releasing the gravitational energy by gravitational contraction. Then they will release energy by using its temperature, or they will release their thermal energy so that its temperature decreases, and the stars will be cooling to meet their final death. These stars are called white dwarf stars. Small stars will usually have this relatively peaceful and beautiful death. But if you consider the star whose mass is greater than 1.44 times the mass of the sun, will have a sudden and violent outburst called supernova. That is, during its gravitational contraction, once all its fuel for nuclear fusion are over, If the mass of the star is 1.44 times greater than the mass of the sun, then they will not release their energy, thermal energy, to become a cool star and to meet their final death, but instead it will have a sudden and violent outburst, which is called the supernova explosion. And this limit, that is, if the mass of the star is greater than 1.44, they will not have a peaceful and beautiful death, but they will explode and supernova explosion. And this limit on the mass is called Chandrasekhar limit. There is a mistake in the spelling here. It is Chandrasekhar limit. Who won Nobel Prize for this calculation of star mass to undergo supernova explosion, who is an Indian astronomer, but professionally he worked in USA. So this is the maximum mass theoretically possible for a stable white dwarf star. Otherwise it will undergo supernova explosion. Actually, in 1930, Chandrasekhar showed that it is impossible for a white dwarf star, which is supported merely by a degenerate gas of electrons, to be stable if its mass is greater than 1.44 times the mass of the sun, which is the Chandrasekhar limit. So for that conclusion, he won the Nobel Prize. And after the supernova explosion, the star may become a neutron star or a black hole. So if you look into this diagram, you can see the life cycle of a star. This is the actual stellar nebula, the gas and dust particles, and at some point in space these gas and dust particles will become gravitationally unstable and they will undergo fragmentation, and some of the fragments will continue their under gravitational contraction, and they will become prestellar bodies. And these prestellar bodies, when it reaches the hydrostatic equilibrium, the temperature will increase to 10 raised to 16 in the core, and they will undergo nuclear fusion reactions at the center, so that they become a stable star. So these stars, if you consider the Chandrasekhar limit, about if a star is a mass of 1.44 times the star of the sun, the stars which is having lower mass than that of 1.44 times that mass of the sun, they will be continue their releasing of energy by the nuclear fusion, and once the nuclear fuel for nuclear fusion is exhausted, they will become a red giant star. Then they will contract gravitationally and they will become white dwarf stars, and then they will become during this white dwarf stage they will release their thermal energy, so that the star is cooled down, and they will finally become what we call it as the black dwarf. But if you consider a massive star, once its all fuels are exhausted, they will become red giant stars, and they will undergo gravitational collapse by releasing the gravitational energy, and at a certain point of time it will undergo supernova explosion, and after the supernova explosion, again depending on the initial mass of the star, they will become either a neutron star or a black hole. If the mass of the star is 2 or 3 times the mass of the sun, they will become a neutron star, or if the mass of the star is greater than 10 times the mass of the sun, they will become a black hole. This is the life cycle of a star. Now we know that the mass of the sun, our star, the sun, will come under this category, that is lower massive stars. We can say that our sun will have a peaceful and a beautiful death by going through the stages of red giant, white dwarf, and finally to a black dwarf. So that's all about the formation and evolution of stars. Now we have to discuss some important terms which are regarding to the stars, which are the novae, the binary stars, the neutron stars, the black holes, etc., that we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.